That's Kanosh, a dog beast.
Yeah, that. I mean, I'm going to blindly assume he tributes something to it. But anyways, background noise from Lukemon and Dark Magician 84 for this deck profile, just because I felt like this was vital information to them. I don't know.
Yay, I'm in a deck list video on this channel.
Works. And I think the microphone for this thing's like on the front of the camera, so it actually is picking something up. Excuse the potato quality and poor lighting here. I couldn't be bothered bloody putting it on the old table down there, so I've got it just sort of sitting here on the desk and my head's just shadowing it off, but the lighting seems to be somewhat fine now. Anyways, this is the Raccoon deck that I just knocked Richie over with. It's a new build, inspired from the Core TCG article, in which the idea is to basically just have a whole bunch of rank 2s, and it essentially goes into Naturia Beast around about 30% of the time, turn 1. So it's nice and effective. It was pretty consistent for me. Sometimes there are the occasions where I'll still have the brick hand, but it is what it is. It's Raccoons. It's not the most consistent thing out there. It's a pretty decent meta call, though. That's why I've considered maybe taking it to regionals, because it can run any floodgate card that it wants and just not be hurt by them, even if it is macro. I'm personally not running macro, but whatever. Anyways, so start things off, we've got our 6 Raccoons. Heart and soul of the deck, pretty much. It's just summon that, get that, do your own silly plays following that up, and if you go Pomoko, Tantan, and they both survive until the next turn, you can OTK the opponent, provided they have not set up a big enough board. Like if they even set up a small board, you can still get over it using Kalantosa and that sort of jazz, but this is basically, without this, the deck is not a thing. Without one of the other spells in the deck, then this thing does not exist either, so that's a thing. From the previous list, I went down to 2 Kalantosa because I felt that 3 is a terrible idea in retrospect. It clogged up pretty. It's more of a cloggy sort of thing than anything else. I felt like 2 was effective enough in that I'd see it often enough for it to be good, but I didn't want to see multiple copies of it because that's just really, really bad, even though it is just used for discard fodder. I usually get one out with Obedient School anyway, unless I have one in the opening hand, which I'll just normal summon it from there and get 3 other ones out. Similar sort of story with the Wind-Up Kitten. I felt like 2 was good because it just gets over Dante. Other big Excesis Synchros. I wish it was good for Clifford's, but that's one really problematic deck for this is the Clifford's, because its low levels means that the Clifford's are pretty much just completely unaffected by any of the stuff that this deck can do. I usually get one of these out just so that it's all prepared and ready to go for the Value Fawn play. But aside from that, it's not. This is probably a pretty decent draw, provided you're not going up against Clifford's, because it just get rid of big stuff. Then move on to the 1 Kalantosa. I will continue to maintain that 1 Kalantosa is perfectly fine. And I actually fear the consequences of putting a second one in, because a few days ago on testing, I opened up with Kalantosa in my opening hand 6 games in a row. So this thing I think is perfectly fine at 1. I would usually, the only positive that I would get out of playing a second one is that I could get one of them out using Obedient Schooled, and I'd still have the one in the deck in case I needed the Tantan or anything like that, but in that case, it's not really that big a deal, because I'm usually going to get Valerie and Wind-Up Kitten, and I usually get one of the Raccoons anyway, because I'm not going to go through all 3 Raccoons in one game, or at least not using their effects. I'll probably end up just ditching them for costs or whatever and whatnot. Triota, slightly less synergetic with the deck because it is water attribute, but it does help facilitate OTKs with the attack boost, which you would usually apply onto Dargusto Emerald and then make a big token. So he's very useful in the deck. 2 copies of the Junk Synchron. This gets you to Armades, gets you to Catasta, gets you to the big Junk Synchron for more damage plays. Then the 1 Thunder King. I wanted this to be a bit more of an anti-meta sort of thing. Thunder King's just brilliant because most of the other decks in this game in the meta at the moment, they do at least some amount of searching. Hedgehog, Skarm, Rotor, Deneb, that sort of jazz. So Thunder King's a nice little body to open up with if you don't have Obedience Schooled. Then main deck to 2 max C, just to put pressure on opponents. This is even somewhat decent against Clef Void, because the idea is to basically sort of treat it in that matchup sort of like an Upstart Goblin, in that you can just ditch it and then get the one card, because that one card could probably be more useful to you than the max C, and any cards after that are just considered to be bonus. It's also good to just pressure the opponent into just not making their own pendulum play, because that pendulum play is usually going to be really, really devastating. So 2 max C is nice to have.
Nice.
What?
So nice.
Yeah, I suppose. Onto the spells, the bread and butter spell of the deck, Obedience School. Without this, the deck sucks. Just, this thing is ridiculous. You'll have seen it because I went first turn, Sander, you beast, with it in game 1 against Richie, so I don't think I need to say too much about it. The only negative is the restriction to special summoning beasts, which for that play is obviously not really a thing, but if you wanted to play something and be a bit more on the offense, that would be a bit of a problem as well, just short of going double Sander you and generating a token, which you can just mash the one token and then just swing for some damage. But it would be nice to get Centauria off it, but it is unfortunately a Beast Warrior. Then the triple Upstart Goblin, this increases the consistency of the deck. 30% chance of going first turn Sander your Beast is about as good as you're going to get. Could run more level 2 Beasts in the deck, but I felt like that was going to just lead to more clogging hands and whatnot. Then 3 MST, just because Vanities can go screw itself.
Oh, yes.
I knew you'd agree with that. 1 Snatch Steal. I'm like literally this close to just cutting it out and saying no, I'm running this because I'm rebelling against it, because the card is seriously unhealthy for the game. This thing needs to get banned. I don't care what anybody else says.
I agree.
You agree?
Yes.
Yeah, too right. What copy of Azeroth Sunrise? The one big question mark that I had over the core TCG profile list was that it wasn't running Azeroth Sunrise. I felt that Azeroth Sunrise is absolutely necessary, even if it isn't one, because for the most part, it just pretty much is a Monster Reborn for the deck. You can get back your dead Nat Beast if they manage to find a way to get over it. And the drop-in attack is really, really nice, because you can basically just go, you can set up for a Sander you, if your opponent's got a big monster, you can go get 2 beasts into a Sander you, use the effect to get the token that's big enough, and then Azeroth Sunrise, so that the opponent is weaker, and that can also potentially get you into a second Sander you, whose token will copy the first one, since it is the strongest, and so you'll be doing a lot of damage with this card. I felt it was just far too good not to run. And then lastly, the Raigeki, because once again, Vanities can go screw itself. It's in your own personal off button to Vanities boards, as I will continue to preach. Then for the traps, main deck to double Mistake. Mistake's just brilliant. This is probably one of the only decks that can run it. I don't run 3 because I have the Thunder King. It's not really that much of a necessity. If I felt like a third one was necessary, then that's what the side deck's for. But for the time being, 2 Mistake is fine. And I see it just often enough that it's helpful anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. 2 Breakthrough Skill, just for the negation of shit. 2 Phoenix Chain, more negation. It's just negation, negation, negation. Phoenix Chain does have the extra added niche of being able to prevent the opponent from attacking, and that also helps with keeping your baby raccoons on the board so that you can push for the massive damage in the following turn. Then the 2D Present, again, for just preventing stuff from killing your raccoons. And then lastly, the trap card Triforce, that is Compulse, Warning, and Bottomless. Pretty obvious. I would probably cut... if I wanted to run Vanities, and I do have a playset of them, if I wanted to run Vanities, I would probably cut the Compulse, and I'm not sure, honestly. I would probably cut the Thunder King in all honesty. But I'm not too sure about that. I would not go any more than 40 cards because that's stupid if you're running triple Patrick Hoban. So that's it. It is what it is. Extra deck. Triple Ronin Raccoon Sandayu, number 64. He's just brilliant. The way that this deck actually works now is that I usually only summon maybe one of them per game, sometimes two, because as much as I like the soft lock, there's a lot of stuff out there that can just send it away through other means, like banishing, compulse, wing blast, even stuff like just in Burning Abyss, they can just ditch Alech, send this, negate one of these effects, kill it, and then kill the other one. So getting over the soft lock is not that difficult. I only usually use Sandayu just to go for the token, and if I feel like that the Sandayu has expended its use, then I'll go into down it with it. But Sandayu is basically just, it's still there just to make the first turn Sandayu beast play. That's pretty much what it does. Centauria is now the pretty much the beat stick in terms of the rank 2s. It's a 2k body. Doesn't die while it has materials, and you can attach one to send a monster back to the hand. Well, if you're battling a monster, you can detach and send it back to the hand. So this is really, really nice to have. 2k on a rank 2 is just incredible. It does, once again, though, fall short of the Clifford stuff, which, I mean, Clifford's just easily this card's most difficult matchup. But, you know, can't really help it. But this thing, it's good for getting over Darte, Virgil, most of the El Shadows fusions, so it's not too bad. I mean, Construct's still an asshole, but it is what it is. Digestive Phoenix, this is another good bridge for the OTK plays. If you have your first turn Pompoka with a set Tan survive, you can then go into you can then use the, who do you call it, Trioda. You can make the Digestive Phoenix to 2500 using the effect of that Trioda. Assuming you have another level 2 in your hand, you can summon that, make the Sandayu, and so you've got two 2500 attacks with this, and plus another token that's 2500, plus the Sandayu itself is an 8500 stick. I believe I was able to push it to 9700 with the use of Valerie Fawn. So this thing is really, really monstrous if you can get it off. Then play the one down a Magician. This is more for room restrictions. I'd love to play a second one, but room restrictions, I think honestly somebody should like create a petition and get a whole bunch of people to sign it and send it to Konami. Just like, we want the extra deck increased to 20. I know I'd sign it. I know Richie would fucking sign it. Yeah, too right, but having to work with what we've got now, we're just going to have to stick with the one down. Now for the synchros, don't run any level 4s here because I didn't think they were that necessary. I run the one Armadez, one Junk Warrior for the beat stick, one Catasta. I found out I actually cut Catasta, and then the first match I had after cutting Catasta, I felt that I ran into a situation where I needed Catasta, so I put Catasta back in, replaced Frozen Fitzgerald for it because I felt that this was just like these three plus the Naturia Beast. I felt that this was the most versatile setup of level 5s. It's a nice little toolbox sort of thing. That being said, because of the focus that the deck now has in going for the first turn Sandayu Beast, I feel like a second second Naturia Beast is indeed a necessary thing. So I'm not too sure what I want to cut for it, but we'll see what happens. Because I don't have the actual card itself yet, so might have to do a little bit of testing on that one. To each of the 6s and 7s, 6s, Barkion and Goya Guardian. Goya Guardian is just more for a beat stick sort of thing. It is nice to steal an opponent's monster, and if you have Valerie Fawn, you can just synchro. Barkion's just Barkion, you know, screws over that sort of setup. And if you go first turn Sandayu Beast, and if you have Pompoka to get a Tan, if that Tan survives, you can potentially go for a Barkion, because you can then flip that Tan, get the Valerie Fawn, and then ditch to get into level 2, so that you then follow up turn 1 Sandayu Beast with a Beast Barkion, and from there your opponent's probably just not going to win, because then because you've got these two negating or everything back row related, plus you've got 2,500 tokens coming out of the friggin' wazoo. Actually, you'll only get one 2,500 token, but 25, 25, 22, and 1,000 is enough for an OTK in itself. So that's why Barkion is an absolute necessity here. Excuse me. And then 7's Black Rose and Yazi. Yazi's really nice to have for the Burning Abyss matchup. It's just, as soon as you just drop this, if you have at least one level 2 monster and you have, if you've got like a Tantan, even if they attack with a Tantan, you can just get Kalantos or something that can just sit there, and then from there you can just Junk Synchron, get the Tantan back, and then go into Yazi, and then short of going Acid Golem, BA is just, there's not much that BA can really do in that situation. And this deck has enough outs to the Acid Golem that I feel that it's not, that I feel really secure about my field presence when I actually get him on the board against the BA matchup, so it's nice. Side deck, 3rd Max C, in case it's needed for something. I suppose BA is a big thing. So too is Satella Knights, because they can go a little bit nuts if they go with the Vega. 2 Beast King Barbaros, this is for the Cliffort matchup, because they always have the skill drain. So you just drop this, and then short of going up with a powered up disc or towers or some sort of something, they're not going to be able to get over Barbaros with a 3k beat stick. It also works in tandem with Obedient Scourge, since you just have all 3 of your tribute fighter monsters on the board, and then you just trip them off, and then you've got a field wipe with a 3k beat stick. It's really, really deadly to have. It's basically Exciton on steroids. So make of that what you will. And then the 3 Flying Sea, because Burning Abyss, again, Satella Knights. This thing's just brilliant against both of those decks. Burning Abyss particularly, because Flying Sea also just screws over any Burning Abyss play that they were going to make, because it just kills them all. And there's no point in going Graph or Seer or anything like that, because anything that they get is just going to be immediately blown up, unless their only option there would be to go Scum and then Tour Guide. And then even then, with Flying Sea still on the board, that Tour Guide's not going to do much. 1 Diffusion, because Dark Law has to frickin' piss off. Two Twister for more Vanity's Hate and Cliffort. 3rd Mistake for the heavy search decks. I wouldn't cite it against anything like Shadows, but if it was something like Satellas or Clifforts, definitely. Side deck to Soul Drain, plus 2 Shadow Imp and 2 Light Imp. I don't run any more copies of Shadow or Light Imp, because for the most part, like particularly for the Shadow Imp, the Soul Drain is basically the 3rd Shadow Imp. The only negative it has is that Soul Drain doesn't negate stuff on the field. So it's only in that regard that you want the Shadow Imp more than the Soul Drain, which makes sense. And so the ratios actually make sense, because you have the 2 Shadow Mirror to the 1 Soul Drain. But for the purpose of the graveyard, these are literally all just Soul Drain or just Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. This can assume the guise of that, and so that's a nice little thing to have. Similar sort of thing with the Light Imprisoning Mirror. If I get Light Swarm matchups in particular, this just shuts up Minerva from milling more stuff. JD can't do anything. It's just literally really, really good to have. And Soul Drain is just an extra little complementary little bit of thing there, in that it can also stop Necrogardener and that sort of jazz. So that's quite nice to have. And so that would bring me to the end of this deck profile. Not much commentary came from Luke Mon, but I suppose he's probably focusing on how he will avoid scrubbing out against the Shadow player. But that's...
Is that game still going?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Is that game still going?
Shenanigans in Darkcom, what can I say?
Oh! Well, that's a bit of a shame, but oh well, shit happens. So yeah, that's about it. See you for whatever it is that I do next, after some kind of farewell from these two.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bye.
Live.